Yo, what's up, family? Hey, I got a great one for you today. Just like most of my videos, you know what I'm saying? A lot of us, we like to be entertained by something different or to explain something in different ways that we haven't heard it before, or we may have heard it, but we hear it from a different person. Sometimes it sinks in, or they give you a good story. And I got a couple of great stories for you today. But let's get with the title of the video. The title of this video is going to be called Closing Arguments with Powerful Ending. Now, what I'm talking about that is we have all been in some type of confrontation, argument with our neighbor, our co-workers, and of course, our family. But also, even in the courtroom, aka closing arguments. It's important. So let's get right on to it. What do I mean by when I say closing arguments? You know, when you have that argument with your co-worker, right? You say one point, they say another point, but did you, in your last point, because we're not going to go all day going back and forth like two little kids, you know? Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. No, you got to at some point give a closing argument with a powerful point. It has to be compelling. You get what I'm saying? And as always, you know I love to give y'all a word of the day. So the word of the day is going to be compelling. So if you look up the word compelling, it simply means evoking interest, you know, like an attention or admiration in a powerful, irresistible way. Another simple way to put it, captivating, gripping. Something that, you know, like when a lawyer's in the courtroom and he's giving his case, and then like I said, it can't go back and forth all day. At one point, it was like, here's your closing arguments. Title of the video, closing. What is your closing arguments? His closing arguments has to be captivating, gripping, to make the jury go, And I got an excellent story that deals with me in the court case. And I'm going to give y'all that story. But before I get to that, because trust me, I'm going to change your mind on this one. Watch this. But anyway, how many times we've been in that argument with our family members, co-workers, right? You're going back and forth, back and forth. At some point, you have to give your compelling closing arguments, and that's it. Make a very powerful point to make them understand where you're coming from, opposed to keep going back and forth like a little kid. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. Yes. That's childish. You have to make a compelling argument, closing argument that's powerful, and end it. That's how you end it. You get what I'm saying? That's how you do that. Let me give you a prime example. Court case. I want y'all to follow me on this here. Check this out. This actually happened to me years ago when I had jury duty, right? Actually, when I used to work at this company, it was a unionized company. I used to love jury duty. You know, a lot of people, they say, man, I hate jury duty, man. I try to avoid it in all cases. You know, and you get a lot of people that go in there and the way they try to avoid jury duty, they go and tell the judge, I hate cops, or I had a cop do me and my family dirty, my job don't pay me, or whatever the case. They come up with something. I got a medical condition to get out of jury duty. But that wasn't me. I love jury duty. Why? Because my job paid us up to a whole month for jury duty. And if it was if it was a grand jury, my job paid up to 6 months. So I love jury duty. I used to bring my book every day and read, man. I love jury duty. And it was one time I even extended my jury duty. They only had me for 1 week. I ain't at the company no more, so I can tell the truth of what happened. They only had me for 1 week. And what I did, when the lady gave us the printout of how many days I was there, man, I did a perfect photocopy of that. And I put another white paper over the date that she said I was there. And I extended it for another week. But anyway, let me get to the compelling story of my court proceedings, right? So I got chosen for jury duty on a real serious criminal case. Now check this out. Like I said, the title of the video is called Closing Arguments with Powerful Ending. That's how you end it. That's how a lawyer does it. You know, you give your statements, but you must give a powerful ending, even the defendant or the plaintiff, whatever the case, a powerful ending. Now here's a true story. Check this out. So in this case, it was two women. It was a plaintiff who was suing the defendant. But it was a criminal case, so it was more than just civil. She was suing for money as well. So the plaintiff was taking the defendant to court, right? So we in there, we as a jury, we listened to the whole case. The opening statements, because you know, when you do jury duty, they always say, don't discuss this with nobody with the case. Man, this was many years ago. So anyway, it's all over with.
But
Anyway,
well, I'm sorry, Bobby, but it was a civil matter or?
now I believe this was
civil?
criminal. This was a criminal case because we know civil meaning you're suing for money. But I think she was actually trying to sue for both.
For both? Okay.
But hear this story out. Check this, because this is going to be very compelling. Remember, compelling meaning captivating, gripping, closed with a powerful, and irresistible way. So check this out. Way the story go, the plaintiff was suing the defendant, and the lawyer opening statement was, "We are hereby brought this case to the court, blah, blah, blah. My client is suing the defendant because she bit off," and he said, "Could you raise your arm?" And he had the lady hold up her hand. She had a cast on her hand, and these two fingers was cut off at the middle. They wasn't just cut off. That's why I'm telling y'all. Listen very close. He said, and when she showed her fingers, he asked her to take the thing off, and it looked gross, but she still had it bandages and stuff. He said, the defendant has bitten the fingers off of my client, and you must understand, she didn't just bite one finger; she bit two, and you must understand the brute force that it takes someone to bite, and not just bite someone, but bite through bone and take her fingers off. That right there, we all as a jury, we sat there and said, she's there with, even the doctor, she had a doctor there. They showing her real fingers, so it wasn't fake. We was like, she guilty. Man, it's going to be, damn, man. You know me, since I'm getting paid, I was like, man, it's going to be a quick case. Damn, I want a long case. I want to be here getting paid.
She usually wins the case.
Yeah,
though.
right?
Yeah.
But remember, what's the name of this video? Closing arguments with a powerful ending, right? So the case just getting started. So now, that was the plaintiff's lawyer speaking. So now, the defendant lawyer gets up. And he congratulates the plaintiff on their statement and all that. And then he says to the jury, us, he said, now, the whole purpose of y'all being jurors is that for y'all to hear both sides of the story. And I remember a statement my wife said before, and I know a lot of y'all out there, y'all know how this go. There's always two sides to every story. And you got to hear them both. And that's just what this was. So, like the defendant lawyer said, and you got to hear both sides of this story. Because yes, he is right. He said, I want y'all to be captivated by what the plaintiff lawyer said. How much brute force it takes to bite a person's finger off. And in this case, she bit two of them off. None of that he said was not a lie. My defendant did do that. So we like, man, what kind of stupid lawyer is this, man? He's selling her down the river. She like, they already gonna lose and he making it worse for her. He said, so let me explain to you the whole ordeal. He said, now, the plaintiff, that is her husband right over there. This whole fiasco and this fight argument started over her husband. Her husband is here in the court today, consoling her and everything. Yes, and I understand they have doctor bills and all that. And as I said, everything the lawyer said was true. It takes a lot. Could you imagine one thing getting bit, but someone biting your fingers off to the bone? Bit them off. But hear me out. He said, she is the wife of that man right there, right? It's nothing new here. It's unfortunate, but these things happen. He said the defendant was his love interest, girlfriend, fiance, whatever. Adulteress, whatever. Not here to try to make someone look bad. I'm just calling it what it is. And I need you, the whole jury, to understand where I'm going with this. He said, yes, she's the wife. This was the girlfriend. Unfortunately, we don't have the husband on trial here for adultery. We're not here for that. So, got a little laugh from the jury, all of us. But then he said, let me explain to you everything that happened. He said, the defendant and the plaintiff has been bickering, arguing, and fighting many times in the past. And as you can see, my client here, and we have a doctor to prove this, she is only 120 pounds. We like, where are you going with this? Remember, gripping, captivating, closing arguments with a powerful state ending, right? He said, my client here is only 120 pounds, soaking wet. She's only 5'2". She was a short lady. He said, now, look at the defendant. Look at the plaintiff here. He said, she's 5'9". That's kind of tall for a woman. The average man is about that. But the woman, he says she's 5'9", she's 230 pounds. She's clearly double the size of my defendant. Clearly. I mean, in the average person, you ask them about who's going to win that type of fight. It looks almost evident, but you never could tell. But let me get to the point, jury. He said, what I need you guys to hear this whole case out and to put in total exoneration of my client. And we was like, what? She guilty? She bit the lady's fingers off. It's right here. The lady's here. Her fingers are missing. How the heck you protest? I don't even believe she going to court. So he said, well, let me explain to you. He said, all of the arguing and bickering that they've been doing for the longest with each other and with her husband and her boyfriend, whatever. He said, on the last time that they had an argument before this incident, my client did the right thing. And she went to the police station, which they directed her to go to the courthouse and get a restraining order or whatever the case. And she did everything right. She actually got a restraining order on Mrs. Such and Such. He said the lady's name. She was granted a restraining order for the appropriate reason of harassment, and she had been in the hospital before behind this lady. She had bruises to prove all of that. She was granted the restraining order. She said, now, on this day that Mrs. Such and Such fingers was removed, he said, my client, the defendant, was home. Now, mind you, she has a restraining order on the plaintiff. And you know where this whole fight happened at? At my client's house, where the plaintiff had no business being by court order. No business being. Now, see, that's why I say closing arguments end with a powerful, irresistible way, right? So he said it all happened at my client's house. She has no business there. So I still want y'all to follow this through. And as I said, my client is only 120 pounds, 5'1". The plaintiff is 230 pounds, 5'9". She's taller, bigger, stronger than her in every way. He says, so anyway, the plaintiff had came to my client's house that day, totally disrespecting the court order that she has no business being there or within whatever amount of feet. But she definitely has no business going to her house, but she did it anyway. She went to her house, and when my client answered the door, she recognized her voice. So she didn't open the door. What she did, we all know how those doors, you can ajar them with the chain on the lock, and that's what my client did. She opened the door ajar with the chain on the lock. And she yelled through the door and said, you got no business here. I got a restraining order on you. And the moment she said that, the plaintiff here, 5'9", 230 pounds, she kicked her door in, immediately knocking my client back and knocking her to the ground. And immediately jumped on top of her. Now remember, she's taller than her and twice her size. There was absolutely no way for my client to get her off. She pulled her hair. She scratched her face, as you can see the plaintiff in here today with a few little minor scratches on her face. Nothing's being told a lie here. So she pulled her hair, she scratched her arms, her face. She could not get this big woman off her, and she knew the woman had no business being at her house. At one point, the plaintiff grabbed my client by the throat and put her other hand over her face, trying to smother her. And at that moment, after pulling her hair, scratching her arm, scratching her face, and just could not get this 230-pound, 5'9" woman that is double her size off of her, because she's such a little woman. And when she put her fingers over her mouth to choke her, the two fingers was by her mouth, and my client bit for dear life, only to defend herself. So with all of that being said, I am asking you, the jury, to reward her to be innocent in this case after hearing closing arguments. Because this could have very well been any of you out there. Could you imagine fighting a bully twice your size after the courts told you that person has no business coming within the area you was at? They violated everything. And sure enough, I'm sure a lot of y'all out there, because my wife, when I told my wife this story, she thought the lady was guilty at first. But after I told the whole story, she's like, wow, right?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of y'all out there the same way. You thought the lady was guilty. You bit the lady fingers off. See, that's their side of the story, which is true. But when you hear the other side of the story, how did it happen? So that's why I say closing arguments ended with a powerful ending. You must hear both sides of the story. When you're dealing with your family, co-workers, neighbors, whoever it is, y'all have difference of opinions or whatever if it get that serious. But when you're going to end it like a mature person, make sure you are captivating and gripping with your point, and you end it, and that's it. Don't keep going on and on.
Get your full, your facts right, your full
point across.
stories, yeah.
Yes. Now I'm gonna give you another one. Here's another one. This is dealing with an old movie. When I say closing arguments, powerful ending. Remember the old movie Lean on Me? You know the true story on Joe Clark. You know they used to call me Batman. They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman. All right, remember that guy? There was a scene in there when they first went to him. Remember the guy Benson played his boss, right? When he went and begged him to come to that school over in Paterson, New Jersey, because it was so bad. He knew he could straighten it out. But they used to say, man, you got your crazy ways. That's why they call you Crazy Joe. But let me get to the point. Crazy Joe had turned all the teachers against him, the administration against him, the board of education against him, because he had his ways and he wasn't trying to hear nothing from nobody. He always shut people down, cussed them out, and told them they don't mean nothing to him. It's my way. They came to me. They need me. I don't need them. That's how he used to say. And he got results. But by doing this, he turned everybody against him because he didn't try to hear or listen to nothing nobody got to say. Well, the guy Benson that was his boss, when stuff got really out of hand, he came to talk to him, and it was a serious talk. And Joe gave his point of view, and then old boy gave his point. His boss gave him his point of view. He said, you came to me. You needed me. I didn't need you. He said, yes, we did. But he said, I understand. I told you could do stuff your way, but you got to have some compassion. You got to still follow the laws. Everybody got a boss. That's what you don't got in your head, Joe. Everybody got a boss. You can't just do everything that you want to do. And then Mr. Clark said his thing back, and they was going back and forth. And then finally, his boss, remember, closing arguments end with a powerful ending. Finally, his boss said these exact words to him because he was tired of going back and forth. He said, you know what? When it comes down to it, I'm the head HNIC. And he walked off. I'm the head HNIC. That's what he said to him. Walked straight off. And he left Joe Clark just standing like.
And what does that mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, when one of the teachers, because they overheard the conversation, went back and told everybody else, all the black teachers knew exactly what it meant, but it was the one white teacher. He was like lost. He was like a deer in the headlights. He was like, and he leaned over to one of the black teachers. He said, "Hey, I think I'm a little lost here. HNIC? Well, what is that?" And the guy told me, he said, "Oh, head nigga in charge." Because Joe Clark, he thought he was the big boss of them. He ain't got to listen to nobody. And old boy let him know, when it comes down to it, I'm the head HNIC. In other words, I'm your boss. And you want to knock it off with this stuff. But he didn't go through all. He just said that and walked off. Meaning, bam! He dropped the gavel where it's like, that's it. There's nothing else to say. Remember, closing arguments, a powerful ending. See? So, like I said, next time you're in that argument with your girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, co-worker, neighbor, especially if you're in court, get your stuff together and have a great closing arguments with a powerful ending. And on that note, subscribe, share, like, and comment.